right, let's get to Beckham. Beckham's leaving. Some people say good.
Maybe lose the first.
Well, some people are saying good riddance. Good. Never liked you anyhow. But then again, anybody who has any sensibility at all understands what he meant to this league and what he's, how this league has transformed since he's been here. So, maybe I'm a Beckham apologist. I'm also a Galaxy fan, and that helps. But I'm glad he got to go out on top twice. I'm glad that he, accomplished what he thinks he came here to accomplish. I'm just kind of weirded out by the fact that he's going to go play somewhere else.
Yeah. First off, I want to say that, I thought Beckham's done a lot for the league. There's no denying it. I'm not sad that he's leaving, to tell you the truth, but
of course not.
It's just me more of a Chicago fan more than anything.
Right.
I don't think once in his 5 years he actually played in Chicago. I think all the Chicago Beckham fans that came and showed up for those games were really let down.
Oh, he was injured
every time he came to Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't like you guys.
But yeah, it is so strange though that he's like, I still have one more challenge left in my playing before I end my playing career.
Let's hope that's not Australia.
Well, see, now that I haven't heard Australia. I must have missed that one.
Oh no, the Australian Federation actually released a press statement last week saying that they had been in talks with David Beckham. Okay, fine. I wasn't buying it unless Beckham wants to do in Australia what he did here, which is raise the level of the sport. I don't know.
Well, I mean, at that point he'd have less time to do it. I mean, how old is Beckham? What, 37?
37. Yep.
He doesn't have too many more years. In all honesty, he's really pushing it now, but he's still out there doing it all. I'm just saying he's pushing the age, age limit.
I mean, with his particular skill, set piece skill, passing, he can still hit a dime, from 100 yards. He'd still be worth something to somebody. PSG doesn't want him. They've already said that. I guess.
A lot of people are asking if he's just going to go over to Paris. Here's an interesting theory, I guess you could say. His last challenge, not really, it wouldn't be a challenge, but he's also looking, to become an owner of an MLS-based team.
There you go.
And there are all these talks about him going over and becoming part owner of the New York Cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if, say, he were to be signed as a player owner for a year?
Well,
but I just read an article actually that's saying that the Cosmos are not participating in the 2013 spring season or the first season of NASL.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah,
it was an interesting idea that he'd go there, could probably play for a season or whatever, and then just continue on his ownership, and then the Cosmos end up pushing into MLS the following year or the year after that.
Yeah, a legendary player leading a legendary named team. I think that would be, it's a match made in heaven as long as the Cosmos end up in the MLS. But then whenever you've been hearing lately Garber talk about a second New York team, remember he used to always kind of throw the Cosmos in there in the discussion? He stopped doing that. So I don't know what that means. And when he talks about investors, it's just the group of investors for the second New York MLS-based team. It just doesn't sound like the same investors that because you know what, they're not investors anymore; they're owners of the Cosmos, right? So he keeps using the word investors. It just makes it seem to me the Cosmos are. But then how do you have two MLS teams and an NASL team all in New York City?
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, it's a big city. Don't get me wrong.
It is,
but that's pushing it. Although some people will come on here and say, "Well, the first New York team isn't based in New York."
That's true. New Jersey Red Bulls.
Yeah, but been saying it for years.
I mean, you think New York City could, or New York itself could sustain? I mean, they already have Buffalo, the Giants, and the Jets in the NFL, right? So they have three teams there.
Well,
but if the
that's a little bit different because Buffalo's not necessarily.
Oh, I know it's nowhere near New York City. I understand that, but what I'm saying here is you're going to have. I mean, New York City can't even sustain 2 NFL teams, or maybe it could sustain 3. I don't know. It can sustain 2, I should say, but no one has ever talked about having a 3rd NFL team in New York. It just seems crazy to me that you would have 3 New York teams, and that the New York Cosmos would go ahead with this NASL thing, knowing they're not going to be the second, because that pretty much guarantees the Cosmos will never be in the MLS if they launch a second New York MLS team that is not the New York Cosmos.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. If they, it's possible that they easily have. I think they could house, 2 MLS teams and an NASL team. It just obviously depends on the destination. I think they're talking about the NASL Cosmos team being played in Queens or Brooklyn or whatever. So I mean, it depends on where you locate the team, and that was one of the big complaints why the New York Red Bulls, don't quite have as large a attendance as they should. People are like, well, I don't want to make the trip.
Yep.
All the way to New Jersey. I'm saying all the way to New Jersey, like
it's right across the river. Yeah.
But it's there are some people that are like, if they put a team in New York, I'll go and support that team, but I'm not going to go over to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Support that team.
Well,
so it's possible, but the thing is that if MLS goes and there's a second New York team that's not the Cosmos, I think that's gonna put a damper on a lot of what the Cosmos hope to do if they plan on staying in NASL.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to spend all this money because they're not going to have, as many sponsorships. They're not going to be able to have as many fans because the fans are going to be like, well, should I go and support the second division team that has history as being one of the top teams, blah, 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 or should I go and support this New York team based in New York?
Yeah.
In MLS. I mean, it would put a hindrance on the attendance, I think.
Yeah.
In the fan base for the NASL Cosmos.
Oh yeah,
So
it would be.
I'm thinking that the Cosmos and MLS are looking at this as a trial run.
Okay.
Similar to various other teams. Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, Montreal, all started in NASL or USL Pro, and they made the jump up.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's what this is going to be. And I don't think maybe Garber's gotten to the point where maybe we shouldn't be hyping this up because, quite frankly, we don't know if this is going to work. This ownership might flop.
I think it's going to work. I think they're crazy not to bring another team in and not be the Cosmos.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I think that when they talk about the investors in New York, they're still talking about the Cosmos ownership, but they aren't going to start hyping it up because what if it fails yet again? I mean, that's what they did. They kept hyping it up, and the ownership failed.
Well, the ownership before...
now they're in the NASL, so I think they may have learned their lesson not to just go out and hype.
I think the ownership is stable with the Cosmos now. I think they're owned.
Now, yes,
they're owned by a gazillionaire. I think they're fine.
They got new ownership, didn't they? It's not the same one that originally started off.
Oh no! Those guys are long gone. They're long gone. But they failed because they failed because they didn't have capital, and they ran out of money.
Yeah.
The guy now, he's not going to run out of money. He has plenty of money.
I'm just saying that's why I don't think they're saying Cosmos. Is that they've learned the lesson. Let's not hype this up. Let's wait to see if it actually works out.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to work out.
I doubt there's another ownership that in New York that wants to, outside of maybe what the Mets owner. It wasn't that the whole talk a while ago.
Well, yeah, that was a long time ago, and the first thing was like the Mets guy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just saying that it's possible that something like that could come back in, but still, yeah. I think the second team, the New York team that they always talk about, is still going to be the Cosmos. If it happens. Well,
let's hope so. At least if you're me, you hope so. But then another part of me, Brett, says that we're getting an NASL team here in Indianapolis, and I hope that the Cosmos at least stay in the NASL for a couple of years, so we can have a go at them. I think that would be fun to go watch. But that kind of brings us to the state of the league, really. The Don. was on at halftime. Of course, he gave the whole teleconference State of the League not the day before, it was a couple days before the finals, I think it was. But anyhow, talked about expanding. There's going to be more Central American and South American players coming to the MLS, and as long as the league, continues to expand, I don't see a problem with that. I think there's enough room. He did mention there was that concern, is there going to be enough space left for American players if all the teams are going to fill up with these South American and Central American players. There was some concern, how many Americans are going to be on each team? How, are they going to get the PT? And he said, well, that's what the development, the reserves are for, and the development league is for.
Reserve league is a joke and needs to be improved. If they want that to actually be developing, U.S. players. But in all honesty, that's not really MLS's, overall goal. They're not there to develop the U.S. pool to make the U.S. national team better. They're there to make a profit.
No, the Don says maybe it's just lip service, but he says, that is really important to him because, listen, you have better American players. That means a better national team. The national team is what kind of made the MLS a success or helped because, rising waters, that helps all ships, all boats, or whatever the dang saying is. But the thing is, the better. Can you imagine if the U.S. national team didn't qualify for the next World Cup? How that's going to affect the MLS? I think it would affect it negatively. So
don't get me wrong. I think it's definitely a goal of theirs, but their bottom line is making a profit. And if you bring in, some Central American players or South American players that'll make the overall talent on the field better, that's what they're going to do.
More watchable.
My hope is that they keep the rules the way it is. Each team is allotted 8 foreign international spots.
Right.
Of those international spots, you can trade them to whomever you want.
And a lot of teams are already full to the gills on those spots.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
I don't know.
We're going to be able to bring in more Central American or South American players is by removing certain Central American or South American players or other nationalities,
Right. So as long as that rule's in place, I think we're fine. But I guess the question that some have is, well, you bring in all these better players, maybe there's the same amount of American players, that you keep bringing in better and better South American and Central American players. Before you know it, all the Americans and the Canadians are riding pine. Okay, I can understand that concern. I guess we can cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't think we need a rule like they do have in the Mexican League that certain players at a certain age have to play so many minutes a season. I don't want to go there. That seems a little ridiculous.
And here's an idea. I mean, if the U.S. players are riding pine because they're being outplayed by, other better foreign players, then maybe those players need to be loaned out to NASL and, find some playing time because at this point, I don't have faith in the reserve league. I'm hoping that they start focusing on that and start improving it. But as a whole, if U.S. players need playing time, perhaps they should look to be loaned out somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, then
or maybe the player pool as a whole in the U.S. needs to improve as a whole. And I think the academy system, I think we'll start to see more and more, homegrown players from the local areas coming through the ranks and actually playing.
Well, and that was kind of Don Garber's point: is you bring in better players, then players are going to be looking over their shoulder. They're going to be playing harder. They're going to be training harder. They're going to hopefully get better faster. I don't know if it always works that way, but it surely can't hurt. But like I said, I think we're just going to have to cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't know. I don't see that being an issue right now. We have about the same number of American players, at least with national team experience in this league, as we did in 2002, which is, in fact, we have 2 more. There's 67 in the league right now. So we have quality American players in this league. We had 65 in 2002. Now, granted, we only had 10 teams in 2002.